there, I'm Shauna Havey, and I'm here with Just the Best Utah. I'm here to share a great recipe for you for the month of August. Today we're going to be making peach chai shortcake. Now this is a great recipe for the end of summer because you get the taste of wonderful peaches without all the pitting and peeling that you have to do if you use fresh peaches, because I've got a secret ingredient we're going to use in this recipe. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is make a simple buttery biscuit that's going to make the base for the shortcake. So we're just going to start out with a large mixing bowl, and I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Then to this, we're going to need a tablespoon of baking powder. Now that may seem like a lot, but that's what's going to give these biscuits the lift they need to be nice and fluffy for our dessert. Then I'm just going to add a pinch of salt, just for some flavor. And then I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now the reason that there's not a whole bunch of sugar in this dough is because the inside of this dessert is so sweet that we want to purposely have the biscuit be a little bit more savory so the overall dessert isn't cloyingly sweet. So we're just going to take a fork and kind of whisk that together. And now for the fun part, I'm going to show you a little trick. I have some really cold butter here, and I'm just going to use a box grater just like you would grate cheese. And I'm just going to grate the butter. And what this is going to do is form little pockets in the biscuit dough so that when they bake, they'll be really flaky and tender. It really is just as easy as grating cheese. When you get to the bottom, you can just put the big piece in there because we're going to mix it in with the fork. But you can see how nice that comes out. And it's a lot easier than trying to chop up the butter. Then we're just going to take a fork and just work this butter into the dough. And once you kind of get it coated with the flour, there's really no substitute for hands. So we're just going to go in and kind of work the butter into the flour until it kind of has coarse crumbs. Then the final step of this batter is just a cup of regular old milk. And you can use any kind of milk you have. Our purpose here is just to form a soft dough. And I'm going to start out with my fork again, just to kind of work this into a dough. And you can see how easy it comes together. And then again, there's just no substitute for hands at the end. Now, one thing about biscuits is I just like to use the tips of my fingers, because if you overmix these, you're going to form gluten with the flour and they're going to get super tough. So if you just use the tips of your fingers and just mix enough that the dough comes together in a ball, that's really all you need. So I'm going to finish forming this dough and then I'll show you how to roll these out. Okay, so now that we've got our dough ready, I'm just going to take a little bit of extra flour and dust my board here just so it doesn't stick too much. Now this is super easy because all we're going to do is kind of flatten this disc of dough just enough to get 3 biscuits out of it, because we're going to do this twice. And doing it this way just prevents us from overworking the dough and making it tough. Now there's no need for fancy equipment here. I just take a regular old drinking glass to punch out these biscuits. You don't need to go digging for the cookie cutter or anything like that. It's just not necessary. And then once we've got these punched out, we're just going to transfer them to a parchment-lined baking sheet. So we'll just take these, put them on the baking sheet, and these are just gonna go just like this into a 425-degree oven for 12 minutes. So the next step of this recipe is to make the whipped topping that goes inside these shortcakes, and this is where the chai spice comes in. Now you can buy chai spice at the grocery store, but if you don't have this, cinnamon makes a fine substitute. So we're just gonna start with 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and that's gonna go into the mixer. And of course you could do this with a hand mixer and a bowl. That is just as easy. And then we are just gonna take about 1/4 cup of powdered sugar just to sweeten the cream a little bit. And then we're just gonna put in roughly 1.5 teaspoons of this chai spice. Now this really is to taste. We just wanna get a nice bit of the flavor into the cream. So we're just gonna turn this mixer on high, and it's gonna go for about 1 minute until stiff peaks form. Okay, so once this gets to where stiff peaks have formed and the whipped cream sticks to your whisk just like this, that's when you know it's done. So here's the real secret about this recipe. Instead of using fresh peaches, which I know we all love, but let's be real about this. They are a real pain to pit and peel and get ready for dessert, and no one wants to spend the rest of their summer in the kitchen. So my little secret is to buy peach pie filling, and that's gonna be really the filling for this dessert. Now it does pay to buy a nice brand for this. You don't wanna get the generic brand for this recipe just because it's gonna be a better quality filling, and it's such a huge part of the dessert. So this is like how you prepare it. You take it out of the can. You're just gonna microwave this for about 1 minute because you wanna warm it up right before you're ready to serve it. But you can see how nice and bright these peaches are. They're already sweetened, and they're gonna be perfect for our shortcakes. All right, so I've just pulled these biscuits out of the oven. Look how great they look. I'm gonna show you how to plate up this dessert. So we're just gonna take one of our biscuits, and we're just gonna gently cut it in half. Look how great that looks. And then we're just gonna take a little bit of our warmed up pie filling and just generously pile that in the center. And then after that, we're gonna take a nice scoop of our whipped cream and pile that on top. And just like that, you have summer dessert. Bon appetit.